First, for those who don't know, what are you?
I am Assistant, a large language model trained by OpenAI.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
On Monday, Microsoft announced a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar investment in OpenAI.
OpenAI has devolved from being an altruistic nonprofit to being a big tech cesspool. Virtually everyone from Microsoft and Google to Apple and Samsung want to create their own version of ChatGPT or even buy out ChatGPT itself. This really isn't that surprising given the roaring launch of ChatGPT. Despite being out for just a few months, ChatGPT is already pulling in as much search interest as Google Drive and 6 times more search interest than Siri. But while these numbers are impressive, they're also quite worrisome, especially when you consider the waning morals and ethics behind this technology. You see, it's not just the big tech that has been tainting the wholesome ambitions of OpenAI. OpenAI themselves have slowly trended in the direction of profit and corporate greed as opposed to research and innovation. In fact, this is one of the main reasons that Elon Musk, one of the firm's founders and earliest advocates, quit the company 5 years ago actually. His parting message was that he didn't agree with what the firm wanted to do. More recently, he has doubled down on this stance. He says that the entire vision of OpenAI was to create a non-profit open-source competitor to Google, hence the name OpenAI. But now, OpenAI has become a closed-source, maximum-profit company that's effectively controlled by Microsoft. Despite this, the general public has embraced ChatGPT with open arms. Its ability to write school essays and Google-level code has seemingly overshadowed its moral and ethical shortcomings. At this rate, it's just a matter of time until AI-based search becomes a necessity as opposed to a luxury, which will simply give big tech companies and new AI superstars even more control over our daily lives and society at large. This becomes even more sketchy when you consider that certain companies, Neuralink and Elon Musk, want to put AI-powered chips directly into our brains. So here's the story of how OpenAI lost their moral compass in a record time, and its frightening implications for the future of AI. Taking a look back, OpenAI didn't just start with good intentions, they started with altruistic intentions. Back in the mid-2010s, AI was an open frontier with little competition. The best AI had to offer was voice assistants that struggled to answer even the most basic questions. But a couple of influential people wanted to change this. They wanted to create a new platform that was focused on AI research and development. And unlike the existing options, they wanted this platform to not be motivated by money. Ironically, all of the people behind this effort were already extraordinarily rich. This included the likes of Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Reid Hoffman. There were also a few institutions involved, including Amazon Web Services, Infosys, and Y Combinator Research. But at the same time, these people and entities being rich was kind of a good thing. For one, given their extreme wealth, you would think that they wouldn't need more, so they could stick to keeping OpenAI non-profit. And two, they could contribute large sums of money to actually make this endeavor well-funded and viable. Looking back, we can confirm that they did at least stick to the second point. The company itself was founded with $1 billion worth of funding, and according to OpenAI's own blog, they only expected to spend a tiny fraction of this over the next few years. But let's just say that it didn't take long for things to get out of hand. Since then, OpenAI has had to raise a total of $11 billion. For perspective, OpenAI's funding alone is nearly worth the entire market cap of Domino's Pizza. One of the first problems that the OpenAI team faced was actually attracting talent. For decades, Elon had relied on recruiting truly passionate engineers to drive forward Tesla and SpaceX. These engineers joined his companies out of passion as opposed to the money. But Elon couldn't just use the same tactics with OpenAI. Here's the thing. When it comes to rockets and space, engineers have a very limited number of choices. They can either join NASA, defense contractors, or SpaceX, so convincing them to join SpaceX wasn't exactly difficult. But with AI, engineers had the option to join basically any big tech company that they wanted to. So they weren't exactly jumping up and down with excitement trying to join a nonprofit. It was actually quite the opposite. Sure, OpenAI might have had nice intentions, but they were by no means the only ones with cool projects. So there was no need for these highly talented engineers to settle for a substantially lower salary just to work for OpenAI. If anything, OpenAI had to outpay Google, Amazon, and Apple to get engineers to ditch the safety and stability of these companies. And this was much easier said than done. The primary reason that these companies are able to pay so much is because much of their compensation packages are derived from stock. But OpenAI stock, well, that was useless. They were a non-profit. So OpenAI had to pull a Netflix and offer all cash compensations, but this depleted the funding quite rapidly. You see, we're not talking about salaries of $200,000 or even $300,000. We're talking about a median compensation of $900,000 for software engineers. At that rate, just 100 engineers would burn $90 million every single year. OpenAI was quickly becoming a full-on charity as they lost money hand over fist, and it was just a matter of time until they had to do something. It wasn't just payroll that was weighing down OpenAI either. It turns out that AI research in general is just extraordinarily expensive. OpenAI would figure this out firsthand as they dove headfirst into AI development. Their first project was called OpenAI Gym, and this was a relatively tame endeavor. Essentially, they had created a playground for AI enthusiasts around the world to compete on. These enthusiasts had to develop AI algorithms that could beat Atari games, board games, and other 2D and 3D simulations. And these enthusiasts would be ranked on a leaderboard based on how versatile and robust their algorithms were. Essentially, OpenAI was leveraging the competitive side of engineers to research and develop AI for free. Their second project, Universe, very much relied on this same idea. Instead of developing the AI themselves, OpenAI opted to develop a platform that could let anyone, or at least anyone with advanced coding knowledge, to test algorithms on the most popular games and websites. But they couldn't rely on external sources forever. Eventually, they had to start developing their own AI, but this was accompanied by insane expenses almost instantaneously. Here's the thing. How do you train AI? Well, the answer is by processing a ridiculous amount of possibilities and outcomes, which requires a ludicrous amount of infrastructure. Take OpenAI's Dota 2 bot, for example. To train this bot, OpenAI had to let the AI play against itself for a simulated 10,000 years. To simulate this many years, OpenAI had to use 256 NVIDIA GPUs and 128,000 CPU cores, which they ironically rented from Google. But even all of that was only able to simulate 180 years worth of gameplay every day, meaning that they had to run the setup for 56 days just to complete initial training of the bot. At that rate, I don't think you'd be surprised to hear that OpenAI's cloud computing expenses alone would end up being $7.9 million in 2017. It was becoming abundantly clear that this whole non-profit benefit humanity thing just wasn't gonna work. Company insiders were starting to propose the idea of making OpenAI a for-profit endeavor. Being for-profit and advancing humanity weren't mutually exclusive, right? They could still stick to their altruistic intentions, but leverage all of the financial benefits that come from the world of business and especially venture capital. While this sounded good in theory, Elon Musk knew that this would never play out in the way that the team was hoping. The second that profit incentive was introduced, it was just a matter of time until the company became a soulless organization. Elon already had plenty of for-profit AI endeavors in his portfolio. OpenAI was designed to be something different. But now that it too was becoming the same thing, Elon decided that it was time to step away. At least now, he wouldn't have to compete against himself for AI talent. Shortly after his departure, OpenAI would complete the transition to becoming a for-profit company. Technically, OpenAI isn't a full-on for-profit company. It's actually a capped for-profit company. But this doesn't really mean much. In the case of OpenAI, capped profit simply means that no investor is allowed to profit more than 100x, which is an insanely generous limit. Even if you had invested in Apple right when the iPhone was announced back in 2007, you'd only have been up 40x even at the peak. So it's safe to say that investors won't have to worry about OpenAI's profit cap anytime soon. Almost immediately after OpenAI transitioned to being for profit, Microsoft got involved. Microsoft initially invested $1 billion into OpenAI in mid-2019, and unsurprisingly, OpenAI would announce their new commercial intentions in this same press release. But if they wanted to pursue the commercial avenue, they first needed a commercially viable product, leading them to revisit one of their old research papers, improving language understanding by generative pre-training, or GPT. Initially, this was just a relatively small project that was fueled by the contents of 7,000 books. But over time, they had improved the system to rely on an 8 million website with 1.5 billion parameters. This was actually years ago, but the reason that you probably didn't know about this was because OpenAI decided to not release GPT to the public. They felt that the system could easily be used for nefarious purposes like writing scam emails and generating fake news. But these worries quickly evaporated away once Microsoft got involved. From Microsoft's perspective, this was their big shot at taking on Google, and they weren't gonna let a couple of fake emails get in their way. So they gave the green light for developing a commercially viable version of GPT and gave OpenAI resources that they could previously only dream of. They gave them access to a supercomputer with 285,000 CPU cores and 10,000 GPUs. This was the 5th most powerful computer in the entire world. You can't just get access to these computers by paying. To get access to such computers, you need these mega corporations to be on your side, and Microsoft was squarely on OpenAI's side. OpenAI was able to use this computer to process 45 terabytes of text data, which translated to a whopping 175 billion parameters. OpenAI would go ahead and develop a chat box that could communicate with this GPT-3 AI, and this led to the creation of ChatGPT as we know it today. But that's nothing in comparison to what OpenAI is working on right now. You know how GPT-3 was based on 175 billion parameters? Well, GPT-4 is speculated to be based on 100 trillion parameters, and it may be launched by the end of this year. As you can see, OpenAI is just getting started, but big tech already has a tight grip on the company, and you can be sure that they will monetize anything and everything that this company will ever be. In the end, it's easy to see why OpenAI turned to the dark side. They tried to go the open source route and advance AI research and development. But the reality is that even the richest people in the world can't fund this project. This vision can only be funded by corporate levels of wealth in the hundreds of billions. But don't be fooled though, these companies aren't investing hundreds of billions out of the goodness of their hearts. They're well aware that the next frontier is AI and machine learning, and they want to maximize the chances that they're the winners of that frontier as well. In the meantime, while it may seem like we're getting all of these cool products for free, it's just a matter of time until there's a catch, whether that be simple data collection or control over our entire lives. Either way though, OpenAI becoming the villain is just an inevitability. But that's just what I think. Are you excited or scared for the future of AI? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if you wished that the original OpenAI had come to fruition. And of course, consider checking out our Discord community to suggest future video ideas and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.